Chris. Welcome to Five Count. I am Jack Edwards, aka Johnny Jizz Hands, as you can see. And
And what's
below
up,
it,
turds? It's me, Big George, Big G, the sports guru, always doing the things that you like to do. So come on, what's going on, folks?
yeah. And tonight we have a very special show. The gentleman with us is a good friend of mine. He's been a reporter for 15 years up here in Ontario. So he and I work together. He works for a different company now, but he's a really great reporter. And one of the things that made us connect as friends was he's such a huge wrestling fan, very knowledgeable about wrestling, and as we found out before the show, basketball. So tune in for something coming up. Chris Diamond is with us. Chris, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited for this. Sounds like we're going to have some fun tonight.
A
I
little
hope
bit,
so.
just a little bit,
I
not
hope
too
so.
much, not too much, not to make the folks jealous at home through the camera. But we're gonna have a little bit of fun tonight. It's the war games, baby. We got to do it. We got to
It's
do
the
it
war
tonight.
games. Like that's our topic tonight. But let's get into it. First of all, I was right. I want to say it. I called it. I was right. Seth Rollins is going to be a special guest referee for SummerSlam. And Chris, I had told George, I said to George, that's what's going to happen. Because I'm like, they got a three-way thing going. I'm like, how are they going to do this? And it's exactly like Bret Shawn and The Undertaker in '97. Although they didn't do a lot of matches, triple threats on TV. They did them on house shows. And I think it's I'm like, it's money. There was a gentleman, Paul, in one of our chats, who didn't like it because he really thought Seth deserved to wrestle, which I understand. But for me, I'm like, that's a bigger spot. That's the semi-main of SummerSlam. I mean, only bigger than Punk versus McIntyre is the title. So I loved it. I was like, but I love when I'm right, and I'm not right that often.
Nah, I would definitely kind of back you up on that. You were right. We did have a conversation a couple times where you and I were like, where do we see Seth kind of fit into this thing? And I'm like, he's eventually gonna work them somehow. And I didn't know in what capacity. And you said verbatim, he's probably gonna work them as a special guest referee or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I don't see it, but we're gonna call it. Sure enough, this past Monday, your dreams have come to fruition, and you called my phone haunting me because you knew what that meant to you. And I'm not gonna be like, you know, oh, he didn't really say it. No, he really said this. It's really something that this man said. He really called it weeks ago.
I was like,
So kudos to
I
you.
think you can actually see
yeah,
John's head getting bigger, by the way.
Just a tad, just a tad. You pump it up any more, the internet goes. And look. That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. He freezes up, but every time his head gets a little bit bigger, so can't do it too much. But no, I definitely back him up on that. He definitely
I
called that.
called it on the RJ Barrett trade too. That was pretty much word for word. I said, although I think I said it's going to be. I'm not sure if it's going to be OG or Pascal, but I think I said OG, and I was like, RJ Barrett's coming here. So hey, when I'm not right often. Let's be. You can confirm that too. I'm not right often, but I thought I
I'm
was.
way
Chris, what do you see? What's that?
I'm
What did
way
he
too right
say?
too often. I'm way too right too often, and I hate that. I hate it. John will tell you I'm right about things that I shouldn't be right about, and
You don't want him to
I'm
be right about it.
I don't want to be right about these things. I don't, but I will be right about them, and I will say them reluctantly. Chris, we'll talk off the show exactly about what that actually means because it
Yeah.
has some truth to it. It's kind of crazy. But nevertheless, this week in wrestling, we got a lot of big things that have happened. I know the Rhea Ripley, Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan story has definitely taken its turn, shakes, and all that good stuff. This week we had Liv Morgan come out and try to, finesse her way into Dom's life. And then Dom has to act like he doesn't like Liv Morgan. How can you not like Liv Morgan? She looks amazing. She looks like she belongs on the scene. She looks like she's one of them
Legend.
girls that you just be scared to talk to. Let's be honest. But at the same time, you got mommy on your side, and mommy don't play that. So where you guys see that going? I know the Liv Morgan thing is kind of a curveball. Do y'all think Rhea's going to get the belt back? And how do you think she's going to do it if she does?
I mean, I am actually hoping that Liv finds a way to hang on to the belt for a while. Like I like the babyface chase.
Okay.
I think that was what was so effective about Rhodes a couple of months ago, and you know, I think it would be really fun to watch that storyline continue, possibly with a Dom swerve, which is like, I think everybody kind of expects him to go back to Rhea, but it'd be kind of fun if they broke up the Judgment Day over this.
Yeah.
Right. And
in
my mind, you know, she chases the belt into Survivor Series. I would love to see that.
But I would love to see Liv to be a part of something else as her, like her breaking up the whole Rhea and Dom thing kind of works a little bit too well. So I think that would be something that you can build off of really, really big, especially because you really didn't have a legitimate end to the Eddie and China story back in the day. So now you can kind of rewrite, not necessarily rewrite that, but kind of put a better finish to it and see how that works. But of course, the belt's involved and it kind of makes for a better storyline. So I do want to see Liv keep the belt a little bit because, of course, you know, that definitely brings a little bit of angst as far as what's going to happen next with Rhea Ripley and Dom and Rhea Ripley, period. Like, what if Rhea Ripley tries to get the belt back and then Dom kind of interferes? Like, what if he can't control his emotions? What if he just love that little blonde haired girl over there? It'll just be so diabolical. I love the idea of it, but you know, we're gonna see how this goes.
I think SummerSlam, it's big enough. I think Rhea and Dom. I think Dom costs Rhea the belt and goes with, and then she chases it. Like she chases the belt, and like I think unlike you, like Bad Blood Survivors, she doesn't have to chase it for long because everybody knows that Jade Cargill is like that's the match that they're building, and I think that's what they do at Mania is Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley. And because even though I don't know, like you know, but Jade's over, so I think that's. But I like the chase with Rhea. I think it's good. You know, Liv's doing her thing. I mean, so it's like it's entertaining, and Dom's awesome. Dom, I know Kareem, if he's watching, he might be. Dom, he loves Dom. He's like Dom's his guy. He's like Dom should be the champ, and he believes it. He's like Dom should be the champ, and I'm like, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Like Dom would be amazing. He's really good, and he's did the Drew McIntyre for me. I never liked Drew McIntyre as a babyface. I just didn't connect with him. I thought it was too forced. But like him as a heel, he's money because he's like big, but he's big enough that he can work with a smaller baby face. Like and the same with Dom. He sucked when he was with his dad. Is like, but when he became Dirty Dom and started like money, Rick Rude heat, fuck.
Yeah, personally, I think Dom is the unsung hero of Monday Night Raw. I love him every segment that he's out there for. I just think it's golden. Yeah. It's a never miss moment. Frankly,
he has definitely grown. He has definitely grown on me. He's one of them people that John can tell you. John was always pushing for heel Dominic for some reason, and I'm like, I'm not saying I don't see him as a heel, but I don't know if I'd like it as a heel. And of course, that's kind of what they fed off of. They fed off of that exact emotion. That I don't want to see little Dominic, who I watched from being a little kid. Like I remember, see, the thing is for Dominic, for me, was I remember the WCW days. I watched WCW. That was my thing. So I remember seeing little Dom's face in the crowd when Eddie was just like, "That's my son," and we, having this beef with Rey Mysterio, and then they brought that to WWE, and then of course they took that and ran with it. So now you have like this little kid who grew up, who was loving his father, loving the business, would do anything to protect his dad. But the perfect way for him to become heel was him to betray his father. And I was just like, at some point, you know, you got to look at it. It was a work of art. It was just what it was. So he
What
definitely
I'm
grown
waiting
on me.
for, I'm hoping that they settle it finally, this feud, with a Dominic on a pole match. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Cross my
the
fingers
on a
there.
pole matches, you can definitely go without. I think that you don't need to put Dom on a pole. You don't need to put him in like a steel cage hanging over the ring or nothing like that. But definitely, I think there's going to be a lot of new spin to that particular storyline. I think that's going to be like something like you can do with the Bloodline, where you can kind of add pieces and then take them away, and then kind of use some other people in that particular storyline to make it a little bit more interesting. They started to kind of fold Jey Uso into that a little bit when Rhea was like just coming back. And I'm not necessarily a big Jey Uso fan when it comes down to him and his, how he is being written into certain stories. It's almost like he's like a nosy neighbor right now.
Yeah.
You always got that nosy neighbor who's in everybody's business. And so you kind of have him in the Sami Zayn storyline. You got him in the Judgment Day storyline. You got him running around here. He's automatically in the Bloodline storyline. So it's like, where does he really fit? Which one do you want him to go with, and how do you want this to be involved? For a split second, I thought they were going to do something with the Wyatt Six with him in a little bit, but that kind of just fizzled out. So it seems like as soon as you see him on camera with somebody else, he's like yeet and runs off. And it's just like literally how he just kind of manipulates his whole being of actually being around. So I want them to book him a little bit better, give him a solid play in some storyline. Um, but that's just kind of where I feel the Usos are right now. I mean, we kind of missing Jimmy a little bit, are we? I mean, don't know. Everybody's missing Roman. Everybody's waiting on that to be the pop.
I
I'm
think
ready to be excited in my living room again about that. So,
I think that's where you get Jey Uso will eventually go. I think they're just kind of placating him right now
mhm.
at this point, but I think eventually you got to figure if we're talking about war games, it's got to be Bloodline versus Bloodline at the war games. Roman, I said last week, and I threw this out there that I think Nia Jax would be an interesting addition to the Roman team because she's a big girl who can like wrestle, and she's like you're not gonna. He's part of that bloodline. She's already a big star. He has some star power to it. I was like, that might make sense, but it looks more like it might be Haku's other son, which would be cool because then you'd have another brother on the other side.
Yeah.
Which makes it an interesting storyline in wrestling history because you've never had one with this much family involved. I mean, that's the unique thing is like about it. That's what makes it. There's so many family. There's so much family members involved, and like you've had a few, but never like this. Like you had the Hearts maybe a little bit, but like not like this. That's what makes it so cool. And there's like thousands of Samoan wrestlers like coming. Like it seems like everywhere you turn, there's a new young Samoan wrestler coming in from that bloodline. It's just like holy shit, But yeah, I think that's where they go. I'm watching SummerSlam for one reason, really, and that's to see hopefully Roman come back. I think that's when he. I think that's the spot. If he's ready, that's the spot. You have him come back, Fox Solo, and off we go. And but the match I'm looking forward to most coming in is Gunther and Damian Priest. I think that's going to be a great match. And like Damian Priest, microphone, he's working, he's trying. He's not the best, but he's trying. But like in the ring, he's fantastic. Like he's and he's big too. Like I like that match. Two big boys chopping leather. Let's go.
Two big men slapping meat.
Exactly. Let's do it. There we got it.
Big meaty men slapping meat, man. That's what we like.
But
yeah, I think Damian Priest has gotten a lot better on the mic in the last couple of months. He's really loosened up. It doesn't sound as scripted when he goes out there. It sounds like maybe he's having a little bit more fun while he's doing the promos, whereas before it sounded like he was just nervous all the time.
Big Paul thinks it's Gunther time, and I don't disagree. I think it's the crowning of the Ring General. Like, I just see him at SummerSlam with that belt around his waist. He's so good. Like, I'm just like,
I want him to hold the belt hostage.
Are they going for Braun Breaker versus Gunther at this Mania, or is it another one? Like,
I don't think that's the match right now. Then that's not the match. Like, because what you're doing is you're moving them into a line that
Braun could win the Rumble.
I don't think Braun gets over Sammy so quickly. I think him, Dragon,
he's gonna be over with soon.
Ilya Dragunov and Sammy are gonna battle it out for a little bit more. It looks like Braun Breaker's being that antagonist, kind of, he doesn't see the way they're using him. They're using him like not necessarily Bill Goldberg, because
he's Goldberg-esque though, but he's
Goldberg-esque, but he can wrestle. He can work in the ring a lot more. And the thing about that is they can use him in matches that Goldberg wouldn't be able to normally work. Him and Ilya Dragunov would have never worked, but Braun Breaker and Dragunov are money.
Braun Breaker's a different athlete. Like, the only other person in my lifetime that I can recall hitting the ropes like that I remember was fucking Road Warrior Animal. Like, if you watch Royal Rumble 92, watch him hit the fucking ropes. And he's huge. I don't know. For me, like, looking down the road, I agree with Paul. I think it's Gunther. I think it's time the Ring General, they're going to crown him, and he's going to, like, all due respect to Priest, like you said, make Priest more of a babyface. I don't know, but, like, I think that dude delivers every time. Some people don't. I love him on the mic. He's like that. He's like a 60s style heel. You know what I mean? Like, not like he's not like a Nazi or anything, but he's like a 60s style like heel. And I love him. I think he's fantastic. I think he's so good. And just his journey to, like, get down from where he was to where he is now. I mean, nobody's come as far in terms of, like, as he has. Like, so, yeah.
I think, the Ring General, I would definitely kind of say he's definitely due his own time. I know for a fact that he's going to be like one of those, he has to hold the belt for a long period of time, and he deserves to. Like, he deserves to hold that belt, because the way he held the Intercontinental Championship, there honestly wasn't anybody you visibly thought or seen that was going to take that belt off of him unless it was time for him to go ahead and ascend to the next level. And that's exactly what happened. He looked the part. The Ring General kind of persona that he portrays, he eats it, and he eats it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because you can tell he almost believes this. I feel like if he leaves the ring, he knows for a fact, like, this is where I belong. Like, that's it's certain people, you kind of understood that. Kind of like when the Undertaker went from the dead man to Big Evil, it was like, you're in my yard, boy. And it's like, it gives that same kind of feel as far as, he really means that this ring is his. He works this.
Yeah.
So he gets in there, he does his thing. And I'm like, I'm a real big Gunther fan. Gunther fan. It's one of the things that I feel like, I hope they don't Shelton Benjamin this. I hope they don't Shelton Benjamin this at all. Because if y'all fuck this up, the writing's on the wall again. And y'all see it, like, y'all know who these supreme athletes are. Y'all know who these people who are working super hard to get to the top of the card. And then some of them actually deserve some burn. So let Gunther get his spot. And I think knocking Damian Priest off and holding the World Heavyweight Championship hostage is going to be great. And the better thing about it is, see, this is where my mind goes about, as far as it. I say Cody loses the belt to somebody in the bloodline, and then there's a fight at Survivor Series between the two World Heavyweight champs, and it just so happens that one of them is going to be Gunther. So that'll be a great match to have in the near future. But that is just
Chris,
foreseeing,
what are you thinking?
foreshadowing things. We're just kind of thinking about it. So
Where are you on Gunther?
Oh, I love Gunther. I mean, you know, I'm one of those guys who likes the heel more than I like the baby face typically, and I appreciate the work that's done, and I'm also a believer, as we talked about a little bit ago. I like the chase. I like a baby face who chases the heel, and you know, in I I'm a fan of the NWA style of booking, which is that you have the heel on top, right?
hmm
Typically, and then you get the baby faces to go after it. I think that that's much more compelling for the most part. And
But
yeah.
no, when you're done, I'll make a point.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I don't see how Gunther doesn't go over at SummerSlam. I don't think it makes sense. I think Priest probably has a feud waiting for him with the Judgment Day, and so I think it makes sense to put the strap on Gunther at this point.
Here's the thing, and Country Boy, like he didn't. He wanted Cody to. I think he's the same way. He's like, I like the chase. But here's the thing: you have to remember that Triple H grew up watching WWF, and that was a babyface territory. You created a heel faction to feed the babyface, and that's what I think you're seeing. That's what you see in Cody. Like Triple H is going to know how to book a babyface. He was Bruno, because I mean, and so. But the good thing about them having, I hope it goes to 2 hours on Netflix, but is having the two champions is you could do both. Like you could have the Raw baby faces chase Gunther, you know, and then on SmackDown, Cody, because Cody's going to hold the belt for a while because like he's still over. Like it's not like he's not over. Like, and he's the Hogan-esque modern.
He's getting that John Cena burn. He's definitely getting that.
Very, very much like I like kids are gonna look at him the way I looked at Hogan and when I was young, like that kind of thing. And I think that it bodes well. But Gunther's really good. But Chris, let's talk about because great segue. Must be the reporter in me. When you were you're a little bit younger than I am, but you probably came from the same like you watched WWF. I'm assuming. How'd you get? What's that?
A lot younger. No.
Yeah, probably. You look that way anyway. How'd you get into wrestling?
Well, actually, I've been a fan of wrestling for as long as I can remember, and one of my fondest childhood memories, I would say, is every Boxing Day, my parents used to get us wrestling tickets for Maple Leaf Gardens, and because they always every Boxing Day they had a matinee card, and we'd be down there. I went to WrestleMania 6, as did you, John, right? So
no, I missed 6. I didn't go to 6. I went to. I went to
so
18.
there's a wrestling card I've been to that you haven't.
Yeah. Did you go to the X?
I never went to the X. No.
I went to both. I went to 86 and 96. And yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we went to a lot of the same things. So anyway, continue.
Oh no, so I grew up with it, and it was one of those things. I watched Maple Leaf Wrestling every Saturday night. It was appointment viewing, and my parents actually were very encouraging of me watching wrestling. So I soaked it up, and I was a Hulkamaniac. I had a shirt that was probably about 5 times my size that I wore, and a Hulkamania headband, and I had the wrestling buddies growing up, and I'd get together with friends, and we'd mess around and wrestle, and it's just something that always kind of stuck with me. I got out of it for a while, kind of during the John Cena era. I kind of stopped watching a little bit, but now, frankly, I think that the writing, since the bloodline storyline has been largely so crisp coming out of the WWE, that I've gotten right back into it. And I think we're in a fantastic era for wrestling right now. So yeah, it's just something that's always been with me.
Do you watch with Nathan? Does Nathan watch?
Nathan's not really interested, and I've tried several times to get him to go. And it was funny because when the Money in the Bank pay-per-view came up and they had the ticket pre-sale, I kind of hinted that I'd like to maybe go or whatever, and he wasn't interested at that time. And then sure enough, in the week leading up to it, he's like, "Oh, Dad, we should go." I'm like, no, because now tickets are like 5 times the price. So, no, thank you.
Hey, you got to get them where they pique their interest, and everybody's not, interested until the show starts. Literally, the day of the show, that's when, like, you know what, everybody's doing it, I might as well do it too. Kind of kicks in. So at least you got a little bit of interest there, so for next time.
I am, Chris. Yeah, I'm with you. Like WWE, like that was it for me. Like I liked wrestling. My dad got me into it. My dad loved it. He loved the Sheik and the like Whipper Watson. You hear the story, and but like he said, took me to Woolworths. He said you could buy any toy you want. He's like, he's a car guy, so he's open cars or something like that. I look fucking Hulk Hogan's action figures, and bam, I want that. And my dad was the type of guy that if you were committed, he was committed. So like he would always take me to events. Like I had the LJNs, like I had the ring, like he made custom rings. It was really cool. And so one of my favorite stories is the one when I went to Newmarket. So we went to Newmarket. My dad had my mom had called to book the tickets and said, "This is the best they have." It was up in the bleachers. My dad really couldn't see very well, and he was like kind of pissing and moaning about it. So he went to, we go to my friend is with me, my friend Mike Gray, and Mike Gray's got glasses on. So my dad goes to the box office, pulls up to the lady, says, "Excuse me, ma'am, see, like, we were supposed to have good seats because this young man, he's legally blind. I mean, look at the glasses on him. He's legally blind. I mean, there's something you could do." Second row center, the main event was Ric Flair and Randy Savage. Like, that was like, talk about coming through in the clutch. And then afterwards, Dad talked to Billy Red Lyons and like tried to get us in the ring. He was like, "Hey, Billy, can the kids just go?" He's like, "Oh, insurance reasons." Now, being a promoter, I know exactly what fucking Billy's talking about. Anytime I see a kid in the ring, I'm like, "Get out of that ring," But but that I'm like you, Chris. I was like the same way. Did you go to WrestleMania 18?
I did, yeah, and we went to the Fan Fest.
I did too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that was the thing, was like in high school, it was the cool thing, right? Like that was the height of the Attitude Era. So you could actually show up at school and talk with pretty much any of the guys in any of your high school classes about what happened on Raw the night before.
That's crazy. I did that in middle school and elementary. Y'all were doing it in high school. That's just a lot of generational gap here.
I was in college. I went to the Raw at the Dome.
Yeah.
With the
gauntlet match. Was that the
where McMahon got in his face? Yeah, the one where you see McMahon gets in his face. That was in Toronto, and that was fucking amazing. I went with my friend Oliver, my friend Matt, and Oliver had this horrible like Camaro car. It was awful, and there was this. Matt had long hair and had a slight resemblance to Edge when he was younger. And he wore like a bit of a trench coat. This kid on the thing thought Matt was Edge. And guess what? They were the only people in the parking lot when we needed to jump. Only people. So this kid probably thought he helped Edge get out of the friggin' town. But like, great times. Like that was the cool thing. The awesome thing about living like in and around Toronto and as a kid is like they were always here. They were here all the time, and it was like, around the area. Like, and so I was fortunate, probably just like you, to be able to go to these things. But tonight is a cool episode. This was one of mine. I called George. I was watching War Games. I said, "This is what we got to do. We got to pick 5-on-5." Sorry, I'm gonna just see. Oh, Kareem's in. Yeah, Kareem. We talked about that. He'll cost her. I think that's what he's gonna do. So, but what we're gonna do, we've decided to pick a year. And speaking of WrestleMania 18, we decided to pick a year. And from that year in wrestling, wherever was wrestling, I think we had 93, 97, 98 on the poll, and 2002. In wrestling, George is going to have a team of 5. I'm going to have a team of 5. And it's going to look like they're going to compete in a War Games. And you're going to come in. You're going to be kind of a moderator a bit, but you're going to pick 2 people for each of ours. So each team, you pick 2. So I'm going to kick it off for us here. I'm going to kick it off here. So the first member, Team John, in the War Games, Mark Henry.
Okay.
I saw his great documentary the other night. I'm a big Mark Henry fan. He was coming out of the sexual chocolate thing a bit. He was big, but he was big, and that's a theme of my team. I'm going big, so I'm starting with Mark Henry. So next up, George, hit it.
Going big has always been my thing, so I'm kind of upset that you're stealing my mojo a little bit. But I'm going to go a little technical on this pick.
Kareem's the only one who likes the invasion, by the way. The only person I've ever met that likes the
in America. On this side of the board. I don't even know if there's anybody on y'all side that likes the invasion as much as Kareem does. But
the only black dude in Utah is the only guy who likes the invasion. It's just strange.
Like it's an odd love for that, but yeah.
Anyway,
so yeah, up. you're taking Mark Henry in 2002. I'm gonna take, like I said, I'm gonna go technical on the first one. I'm taking Kurt Angle. I got to take Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle.
He's definitely one of the, look, I put it to you like this. You put that man in the cage, whatever happens, happens, baby. So, I got to take Kurt. That's probably my only super big player, primetime player right now. So we're going to see how this goes.
Well, okay. So next up, Chris, my man, you're picking for me. Who's number 2 on Team John? And you had a methodology. You told me. Tell me what your mindset was, how to pick this, because I know from working with you, you're a details guy. So tell me where are we looking? How do we figure this out?
I got to be honest. I did not expect Mark Henry as the first pick. So this threw me off a little bit because I kind of thought, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick, about, dozen or so names. I'm going to put them down on a list and I'm going to adapt based on who you've picked. And I'll try and fit in some feuds or some alliances to kind of go along with this. You throw me a curveball here. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a Nation of Domination reunion here, and we're going to give you The Rock.
Okay. You know what? I see how this is going here. Canadians versus Texans. I see what's happening. I'm not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let it slide. Me and Kurt coming through hot. You got The Rock over there. You got a little Mark Henry action. Look, if you take Farouk, I'm just going to say 2002 is just y'all's year. But, John, I'm going to go ahead and it's my turn, right? I don't want to be.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I don't want to be out of place.
It's your turn.
I don't want to be out of place, but so I'm not picking a superstar, but I mentioned this person's name earlier in the show. And in 2002, who was bigger than Shelton Benjamin? I mean, honestly, you have to come out with that guy because I'm gonna tell you right now, Ain't No Stopping Me was hot. It was hot. It had everybody in their living room screaming. This man can jump from anywhere. He can do anything. He was really a physical freak. He was the only person I've seen go one-on-one with Brock Lesnar when they were young and actually beat him. Not saying that he's just, the greatest athlete ever, but he's one of the most slept on athletes. So right now, I have Kurt Angle and Shelton Benjamin. So
All right. Well, next to me, for the third member of Team John, I said I'm going big. The Big Show.
very interesting.
The Big Show.
Very interesting.
Oh, I just think like listen, I'm going big. 2002, there's some big dudes hanging around. I'm going big.
It's a lot of big meaty men ready to slap some meat on this list. So, you know, we're gonna see what we got next. I think it's time for my lovely man Chris to go ahead and pick for me on
It is.
George, which we already have two very good tactical wrestlers. If you want to throw another one in there, that's great. If you want to throw one of the fat boys in, you can definitely do that. So let's see what you got for me.
So here's the thing. I like where you're going with this a lot, George. And so I'm going to give you another really good technical wrestler here.
Okay.
Wasn't around for long at this point, but you're going to get Brock Lesnar.
I solved my big problem. I just solved my big problem right there, baby. You know how
you're going all amateur, guys. You're going all amateurs.
Hey, you know what?
Like all amateurs.
Look at the skill on my list right now. You know what? And you know what's funny? Chris, you saying that you like my list, most Canadians do. And that's funny because Big Joy is about to be real big in Canada, baby. Real big in Canada. We've started this campaign a couple weeks ago, and I promise you, I'm getting bigger and bigger by the week. It's more than one person that likes me in Canada, and I promise you that. Now, I don't know who they are just yet, but I promise you they love me. But nah, John.
Well, there's two in this house. Yeah.
I'm winning
already. Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a good pick.
So now that
you got, George?
Now that you understand that, you know, is
wait, you've already you picked two, so this is George's last pick. Because Chris picks the last one. So this is your last one.
Yeah. So seeing that I got Brock Lesnar, seeing that I got Kurt and Shelton Benjamin, I gotta make a pick that's gotta be off the wall. Like he has to be I gotta throw some crazy in here. You know, Kurt Angle does not become Kurt Angle until he leaves and goes to TNA. So I gotta throw some crazy in here. I gotta throw a motherfucker in here who just like who's just almost just I don't know. Like, so let me go ahead and take John Bradshaw Layfield, please.
Ooh,
and you know, I have to look. I gotta get a motherfucker who I can take to a bar fight. So, you know, let's do it.
I like that one. That makes a lot of sense to me. Maybe you'll get Farouk too. He was still around in 2002, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Team 4 member of Team John, I picked for me. I am picking Rhino.
Damn good pick. Because nobody was sitting. Look, Rhino in 2002 on SmackDown was a prime time player. Definitely really, really big with the gore, putting people through the fucking Titantron every other week, just kind of giving people the gusto. So yeah, everybody got to add a little crazy on this one. So yeah, I'll see your Bradshaw. See, you know, you can see my Bradshaw right there.
That's a really good point. That's a fantastic point. You have Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, and Kurt Angle. Nobody's getting out of that door alive. Like that, dude. That's the thing. Like JBL could just watch the door because like those three guys, like Kurt Angle's a fucking Olympic champion. Brock Lesnar is the UFC champion, and Shelton Benjamin. Like, listen, we're working. Let's be honest. We're working here. We're working. So. But that's a tough team, man. Chris, it's my turn, right? You're the last.
You got to pick the last two, Chris. You got to pick the last two.
This is really tough, but I think I've got some good picks. So, John, you do not have a lot of speed, I think is pretty fair to say on your team at this point. So we're gonna speed it up for you. We're gonna give you a guy who is just willing to do absolutely anything for a pop. You're gonna get Jeff Hardy.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't expect that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Man. Imagine, that was that. I did not expect that. Imagine fucking, imagine the Big Show or Mark Henry throwing Jeff Hardy on, 3 of those dudes.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Might just be able to kind of throw him like a javelin or whatever straight through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody. I don't think that'll happen. I mean, if you kind of rewind the clocks, Kevin Nash was supposed to do that with Rey Mysterio on the side of that little camper outside that one day, but they didn't want to make that a thing. So let's not try to dart people into the side of things. That's not fair, gentlemen. Chris, I think you got something for me. You gotta have something for me. Look. I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something. So you got to bring something that's going to actually be worth it. What do you got for the number 5 pick for Team George? Come on. Give me somebody.
I don't know how you don't potentially have a violent match in this era without somebody who spent an awful lot of time in ECW. So you're getting RVD.
Yes. RVD and Shelton Benjamin. Look out below, bitch. I'm talking about high flyers everywhere. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, John. This is gonna be a bar fight for real. I don't know if we can call it War Games. We should have called it a bar fight because at the end of the day, everybody's gonna be bloody in this motherfucker. So I'm good for it.
George, I got a question for you. Who did you think Chris was gonna pick for you for your last pick? I have an idea who I thought it was going to be for me.
In my mind, I thought it was going to be Sabu.
Interesting.
I thought it was going to be Sabu. I thought he was going to be like, you need somebody who's going to, finish murdering everybody. So why not the homicidal, genocidal, Sabu was actually one of the more talented high flyers that really didn't do a lot of high flying. It was more hardcore high flying than anything. And so, I love the RVD pick, so I can get with that.
I like Jeff Hardy, and I saw where you're going, but I thought it was going to be Rikishi. I thought you were going to give me that big ass. Yes, I thought add Rikishi to these motherfuckers. All right, let's go. We got some fucking beef in this room.
Boy,
that's a good mix though. Because you look at it if it was actually a thing that you're booking, Brock and works well with the Big Show. The Rock works well with Kurt Angle. Shelton Benjamin can work with anybody.
Everybody, yeah.
JBL adds muscle, as does Mark Henry. Just a little bit of muscle because it's and then Rhino, which I loved. I'm sorry. I was I love that. That pick was good. Rhino was good. There's a lot of this would be actually a really good match because there's some diversity in here.
A lot of good
with the RVD and with Jeff Hardy, there's diversity in there and star power with The Rock and the Big Show and Kurt and Brock. And then you got good mid card guys in there. And Jeff Hardy, RVD, JBL, if this had been 2004, JBL's on my team as the fucking cowboy JBL, because he was money, but here he's great too because he was having a bit of a singles run on Raw.
Yeah, he was Bradshaw.
Yeah, and I liked it. Yeah, Bradshaw, and I liked him, and they were using Bubba Ray Dudley too.
Mm-hmm.
As a single, I thought that was pretty cool. But an RVD, yeah, that's a great pick. That's that's a cool match. That would be a really cool War Games to see those guys come in the cage. Like, if you were picking this, if we're booking this, let's say, who goes in first? Because there's always the thing, the heels. There's no real heel in this tag team. So like, who goes in first for each team? Like, who starts, and then who's the what's the evolution? How do you get everybody in the ring? So Chris, like, give me your idea on how you get everybody in that ring. Like, who are you putting in first? Who you start? Because it's 5 minutes to start, and 2 minutes and then after the 5 minutes, it's every 2 minutes.
Right.
And it's like you have a coin toss to determine who gets the second pick. And usually, in most War Games, it's to find a clear heel babyface type thing. At least in the old days, anyways. So who starts, and who do you give the coin toss to, and where do you go from there? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you want to start with probably are two workers, right? So, frankly, I'd throw Hardy in there to start on your team, and then I'd probably go with Sheldon Benjamin. You know, someone who can carry things for a while. And then to me, you know, you save some of the bigger names. Like, I mean, typically what they would do, you might see The Rock go in, you know, last or second last on your team, right? Or you know, Angle on the other side, maybe waiting a little bit before he goes in.
Probably is. Rock might be a good closer.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Who wins the coin toss? Because I have an idea of, like, based on that, I have an idea of where you would go. I think for me, I would have my team win the coin toss, and I'd send Rhino in there. Because you're going to get some really good work with Rhino, Hardy, and Shelton Benjamin. And extends that work, because then you're not like, because then you can switch it up. You're going to see really good work, and then maybe throw somebody with muscle. I don't know. That's the way I go, but I don't know how you go.
No, I think that makes sense. What do you think, George?
My whole start to finish is totally different from y'all's. Like, okay. Starting the match, I got Bradshaw versus Mark Henry. Two sluggers, kind of getting the match going. And then I'm sending in Shelton Benjamin and Jeff Hardy after that. Simply because, of course, you got these big guys that are going to be not necessarily super powered to where they can kind of make the match a little bit even. So you don't have that necessary, you got Mark Henry throwing around Shelton Benjamin for 30 minutes. Nah, you're going to have Shelton Benjamin come off the ropes and hit, you know, Mark Henry in the back. And then you're going to have JBL try to take out Jeff Hardy. But then you're going to have Jeff Hardy take out JBL on accident. It's going to be something like that. And then you throw in, like, and that's when you have to start kind of throwing in your little crazy elements a little bit too. So you could throw in the Big Show, and then I'll throw in Brock Lesnar. Then you can throw in, like, who else did you have? Big guy, the Big Show. I mean, you can do anything. You can do anything after that, but the match would have to start with JBL and Mark Henry. Would have to, because those guys are gonna work. Those guys can work 10 minutes by themselves. That match itself, you know, between them both is just gonna be who's gonna top this, and so you just kind of have to keep topping it. Kurt Angle's gonna come in there. It's gonna be a huge pop. The Rock's gonna come in there. It's gonna be a huge pop. Like, it just starts off there.
That's awesome, because, like, you have, like, so you start off with Hardy and Benjamin, with JBL, so, like, Chris is starting off with speed, and George is starting off with power. Like, that's awesome. I'll go with George. For you, I think I'm putting, if I'm doing yours, I'm putting my team again. It's the coin toss, and I think I fire in the Big Show right there. Or actually, you know what? You know who I'd put in? I'd put Rhino in.
Rhino's a good start.
I think in both cases, I think Rhino should be the second guy, because Rhino is so Rhino can work the smaller guys. Not that Shelton Benjamin is small; he's huge.
Right.
But like and Hardy, and but like he can go in there and do kind of a little bit more bumping with JBL. I like Rhino. That's kind of why I put him there, because he's a good utility hitter. He can do anything. So
yeah.
So we got Rhino in the ring in both scenarios. Chris, I don't know. I like this. Is this okay? Because we're just going. I think this is fun. Chris, who's coming in next? So it's George's team next. Who are you sending in for George's team? Because you're going to book.
So if I'm going to book.
That's a good five.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. So we've got so right now we've got Hardy and we've got Benjamin in, and then I would send Lesnar. I don't know. I mean, I know you said close.
Game over.
But I mean, that dude is capable of doing a 45-minute match on no sweat, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Especially in 2002. So I think he
that
could give you a lot of spots.
That was the next big thing, Brock Lesnar, too. So you got to remember, at that point in time, he was so high. He was. Oh my God, he was amazing.
Quick Brock Lesnar story. I don't know if you had this experience, Chris, but at Access that year, they were doing matches, and I'm at the rail, and Brock Lesnar comes back, and he's like this close to me. I can't describe to you how fucking big he was. He was enormous. He was one of the biggest people I've ever seen. He was like, I was like, holy shit. I was like, you noticed him. And and then he got in. He was super athletic. So he's gonna, and again, like Brock can do anything. Like you got Brock in there with Rhino, with Jeff Hardy, and Shelton Benjamin. Like Brock is throwing dudes around. Brock's probably murdered Jeff Hardy at this point. Like, because he's just like
Jeff Hardy out of midair. And wild shit.
Jeff's just like dead. And then he and Rhino could match up. So yeah, Brock's good. I don't mind that as opposed because again, Brock can do anything. So George, we'll go back to you. And maybe I'll do one coming up after. I'll do the next one. But George, who are you sending in? Rhino's in for me, so you're sending in who?
So I might send Kurt in to go ahead and relieve Brock a little bit. I might send Kurt in because that
Brock's not in the ring yet. You don't have Brock yet. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. But if Brock's not in the ring, I'm definitely sending Kurt in. I'm definitely sending Kurt in now because Kurt is going to be a good relief as far as being able to put some technical submissions on folks, give folks pinned to the mat a little bit more. I like the fact that Kurt was always one of the more technical wrestlers to kind of be able to take over a certain side of the ring. He didn't just kind of take over a person. He took over a certain side of the ring. So if you notice, like if he was in like a Royal Rumble or something, it was like a whole corner of the ring. You notice Kurt Angle was beating the shit out of 3 people right now. You just kind of would notice that. So it's just like, hey, let's go ahead and put Kurt in. Let him go ahead and get some work in because, Kurt is one of the people who gets better with time. Like in the beginning of a match, I noticed that he's mentally amateur. And then throughout the match, he just kind of lets that go a little bit and becomes Kurt Angle, which is one of my favorite characters that is in the wrestling history today. So he becomes that. So I'll send in Kurt. We're gonna throw Kurt. Yeah.
All right. So under George's situation, Kurt's in the ring with Rhino, JBL, Mark Henry. So that's pretty good. So Chris, next up is Lesnar for George's team. Who are you sending in after to even up the score here?
Sorry, so we're okay. So we're back to my scenario here.
Yeah, we're bouncing. I think it's a great idea. Your scenario.
So honestly, man, it's 10 after 10. I'm getting really confused on that.
It's a little sugar in this.
We only got a few more minutes. We'll only keep you. But so you got. Here's who we got in the ring: Hardy, Benjamin, Rhino, and Lesnar. And so right now for George, you got RVD, JBL, and Kurt Angle.
Right.
When you left, you have Big Show, The Rock, and Mark Henry.
Right. I guess we go. Yeah, Big Show. Why not Big Show? I mean, I think I'm saving The Rock for the last. Frankly,
Yeah,
I see
you're
that's
gonna-
what
on
you're
that
doing.
team, right?
I see that's what you're doing.
At some point, you got to get down to the big meaty men, right?
You got to slap some meat. Let's go.
That's going to be the nickname of this podcast, Slaps and Meat. So, George, if I'm you here, you got Kurt Angle in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So I got next up here. I'm gonna pick for both of you next. So Kurt Angle, I think I would send in for me. Again, I think I'm with Chris. I'm sending in the Big Show. Because yeah, you got Kurt, okay, but guess what? I'm sending in the fucking big guy. So the Big Show's coming in.
I don't know if you remember distinctly, but when the Big Show got his hair cut, who cut it? Kurt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well,
that's all right. That's all right. That's okay. It's okay. And then next up, the Big Show. So I'm sending a Team George under this. So I'm just trying to think of who we have left. We have Lesnar's in there. We got JBL, RVD, and Kurt Angle. Actually, Chris, I'll let you do this one. Then I'll pick the last one. Who are you sending in? We got RVD, JBL, Kurt Angle.
I guess Benjamin. Then I guess
he's already in. No, what are we doing?
You did not say his name.
Oh no, I didn't say he's in. Sorry, it's Hardy, Benjamin, Rhino, Lesnar, Big Show. Did you start off with Hardy and Benjamin? This is your scenario. So
this is my scenario. So yeah, Mark Henry then would be, or sorry, are we on your team or are we on?
On George. Sorry, I know. I'm trying to keep track. JBL, RVD, and Kurt Angle are left.
RVD then.
RVD gets in the ring. Yeah, you mix it up, right? Yeah, the Big Show. You bring in Mark Henry.
You're halfway through the match at that point, so I think you could maybe use a jolt of energy. I think
a jolt of energy, yeah. Because that's when RVD comes in, the crowd's back into it. Yeah. So you got to look at the idea of him coming in and giving you that 1 to 2 minutes of loud crowd action, and then it's going to die out again, and you're going to be able to kind of get some more of the physical match back to where it was at one point.
All right, so I'm confusing poor Chris a lot, so I'm going to take a couple picks here. So with yours, George, I'm picking for you coming in. It's going to be JBL. JBL's coming in next for you. Oh, no, he's already in.
He's already in, yeah.
He's in. Sorry, Shelton Benjamin's coming in. Shelton Benjamin, because you don't have him in yet on this scenario. So I think you bring in Shelton Benjamin, and then under the Chris's one, it's going to be for me, and it's going to be Mark Henry. And then I think George, you got one left. So and then I got the Rock there. Who are you bringing in? I don't know. George, you know who you're bringing in? Do you know who's on the list? I don't know.
No, I got JBL and Mark Henry in there already.
You got JBL
in there.
JBL,
Kurt in there.
Angle, and Shelton Benjamin. So I need to pick one for me. So who are we picking for my team? Who's coming in? I think I have.
Is Jeff Hardy in there yet?
Jeff Hardy ain't in there. Put him in there.
Yeah, I think Jeff Hardy can go in there next.
Jeff Hardy's in there. So
our scenarios are completely different, and I can see what you're doing here. I see. So Chris, you after being on the show with this guy for a while, I see what he does. I see how his mind works. It's like a Saw movie. You walk in one room and motherfuckers are chopping each other's hands off, and then you walk in another room, there's a bitch about to get a head blown off, and so it's just like, what the fuck is happening here? So in this scenario, I can guarantee he's trying to see which one has the better build.
I'm
Which
not
one has
trying to do anything. I'm trying to keep this thing on the rails because I think it's close to going off. It may already be there.
The train is baby. The train ain't even on the track anymore.
The train is
going through the
wrecked
city.
right now. So, Chris, you got two guys to pick from for George's team. Send them in. One's your closer. You got JBL and Kurt Angle.
Right.
I could probably guess where you're going to go, but I
would think I would go JBL.
JBL's in the ring. And then that leaves the closers of The Rock and Kurt Angle, which makes sense. So that makes a lot of sense. And then, George, I think we're down to your closers because who's left? I got Mark Henry, The Big Show, and Jeff Hardy. So I got The Rock. I got Mark Henry, Rhino, The Big Show, and Jeff Hardy. So I have The Rock, and I think you have left. You picked JBL. Chris picked him, or you picked him. Kurt Angle, Shelton Benjamin. Who are we missing? Who are we missing, George?
You got Bradshaw, JBL, Shelton Benjamin,
Angle.
Brock Lesnar, and Angle.
Brock Lesnar's not in, and RVD isn't in. So I'd probably say so RVD, and then Brock Lesnar. Like that's really different. Like I just love how you start off with speed and you start off with power. It was like fucking perfect. So I know that was a bit of a shit show, but I thought it was interesting. Like, how did we came up with this brain scenario? So how do we book this thing? And I think it's perfect because you can picture The Rock, coming in and doing the whole punches, and it's like fucking it's funny. But Chris, we're gonna get you out of here because you got to work. So thank you so much.
I mean, some people got jobs and things. So Chris, I guess you can prepare for yours.
I'm on holidays, so that's why I can talk straight. But sorry, Chris, awesome time. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all social media. Do whatever you can to help us out. And George, you wrap it up.
Well, tonight, folks, you actually just watched a very good War Games. I think it's time for you guys to go to the polls that'll come up here in the next few minutes. Who won, Team George or Team John? You got to pick a team. Of course, we'll definitely list out the people who are actually on each team. And you can kind of map out a scenario that kind of puts it together for yourself as well. You've seen us put it together, see who kind of starts off what way. I mean, it's all scenarios. It's all fun and games. You know what? Better yet, I like this better. Go to Twitter right now and give us your top 5 in the War Games that you will face against our teams. Who would you guys find from 2002? Who would y'all put up?
Like,
look,
Kareem already said, so Kareem's going all power, and he's picking Eddie Benoit, not all power. Eddie Benoit, Taker, Cade, and Triple H. He's got no mid carders. He's got all main event.
Exactly, yeah. His is just basically, throw in anybody.
So I just thought it was a cool scenario, and I think it worked out, and I think it turned out. Chris, we love that you're here, and thanks everyone for watching. Have a good one.
Peace.